dropping into the body is essential. Anyone viewing and listening, dropping into the body is essential. You have to have a relationship with your body. The body has a story. The body holds emotion. The body can release emotion. Somatic, soma, body, has the capacity to heal you. A great bridge that I found was when I connected physical health issues to the emotional repression. I noticed when someone is holding in repressed fear or anger, their nervous system is so dysregulated, and it often expresses in the gut, especially fear and anger.
In what ways?
It's constipation, it's heartburn, it's a nervous stomach, it's tension around the stomach. The women who have repressed emotions in their womb, I always tell them to begin a practice where they meditate into their womb and then start moving their body. And I kid you not, like, this is so potent for women. They're like, oh my God, like the third day I was doing it, I was crying, I couldn't stop moving, I couldn't stop crying. It's because you just finally gave the womb a chance to express through your full body.
Hey loves, do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are tuning into this. It helps grow the show more than you know. Thank you so much again, and enjoy. You are now like one of the pioneers talking about emotional release. Why was that? How was that a journey for you, and how did it all come about?
You know, you practice medicine and you learn it in the physical plane, right? Like, here's what you can do either medication-wise, but for a lot of us in the holistic world, we're trying to avoid that as much as possible, only when needed. So here's what you can do with supplements and food. Here are the things that we can do in this physical realm of like exercise, right? And all things that really play a role. Staying away from drinking and smoking. And then at some point, you begin to realize that all of those things matter, and there is something that we're not addressing. And you see that in diseases, especially diseases that are not getting better when these people are doing all of those things. And they're doing it at a high level, or even just paying attention, like completely changing their diet, and they feel better, but something's still not better. Chronic diseases that last a long time. There's a psychosomatic piece, there's a stress piece, you know, and we hear that, oh, stress is like such a killer, right?
Yeah.
But then I go, okay, then what is stress? Because we just think like, I feel stressed. But the experience of stress is really important for us to understand, because it is the killer. And ultimately, it's when your nervous system doesn't have the capacity to go through that process of physical stress, mental stress, even sometimes chemical, the things we're exposed to.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that depletes that capacity is emotional repression. Those emotional blocks are going to be sucking your nervous system dry, such that you have no capacity. So even a little drop of stress, physical, mental, or chemical, is going to overflow. That moment when I had that realization, I go, there's a whole world of things that we don't see or learn that are going on in the body. And the reason we don't see and learn them is because we can't really quantify, like,
right.
how many cc's of anger do you have in your body? We can't do that.
Right.
You know, anger is not a liquid.
Nobody even talks about
expression.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those blockages, when liberated in a space of safe groundedness, connection to the person around you, connection to yourself, the body starts to process in its own intelligence something way more powerful than any medical process I've ever seen. It's the body processing deep repressed emotion. It's sacred, as it is profound for someone's health long term.
Well, and I love, because you, and even on your podcast, you mix the heady with the holistic. And I can only imagine, because of course I left dentistry, I left medicine, as you kind of did as well. And so, but I only imagine the backlash that would cause from perhaps maybe other people in the space. How have you navigated that? Did you have to navigate that? How have you been able to kind of bridge the gap to teach people this new way of really helping people understand the power of their emotions? Because I also want to get into what happens when we don't process those emotions.
Yeah, big time. A great bridge that I found was when I connected physical health issues to the emotional repression. One of the major ones that I found is gut issues that people have ongoing when they're eating better and they've gone to the doctors and they've gotten the best fiber supplements and probiotics, and they should be fine on paper. But what I notice is when someone is holding in repressed fear or anger, their nervous system is so dysregulated, and it often expresses in the gut, especially fear and anger.
Mm-hmm. In what ways?
In any ways. It's constipation, it's heartburn, it's a nervous stomach, it's tension around the stomach. Literally anything in the belly, any digestive issue, digestive
So
upset.
like bloating,
IBS, SIBO,
Crohn's,
even autoimmune disease processes, which actually have more evidence in the research than, just saying like, okay, your IBS is connected to repressed anger. Mm-hmm. And I can go into the autoimmune stuff. But the truth of the matter is that when you bridge that and people begin to see, whoa, if I connect to that reservoir of anger that I was never allowed to express when I was a child, that changes everything. And then I started, that was a theory, and then I started seeing that with my patients every single time without fail. Someone with gut issues who expresses anger or fear was having resolution of those gut issues, especially if they did everything.
Wow.
Especially if they're eating well, especially if they would take them, whatever they need to take.
Taking all the supplements.
Exactly.
They're doing all the things.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was really powerful for me to say, okay, whoa, then it must be that a lot of these diseases have some sort of emotional fingerprint. What percent? Maybe 5%, maybe 100%. But a lot of the diseases have some sort of emotional fingerprint, and then it started unfolding in that way, where I saw a lot of reproductive issues in women being connected to either sadness or anger or sexual repression or shame. Yeah. So when that's expressed in a woman, wow, all of a sudden I can get pregnant. I mean, there was a woman who was doing IVF. She was going to do IVF right before, 2 years trying to get pregnant, and she just had a giant reservoir of sadness and anger in her womb for all of the time she's abandoned herself.
Yep.
When she didn't really want to have sex with this man or this person.
Because she's trying to have the baby and she's been trying for so long.
Well, before that, like just her history.
Yeah.
Like saying yes to men that she doesn't really want to have sex with. Like I'm just going to do it to do it,
Right. You're in the dating scene.
I'm sure there's a lot of people, you're in the dating scene.
You're in the dating scene. And
But for her, that was traumatic enough that when she abandoned her body, now someone she loves, her partner, having sex with her, she didn't even know until after that subconsciously her legs would tense and close every time that they're about to have intercourse. And it wasn't until after she had that expression where she goes, holy shit, my body was rejecting my own husband. What does that say internally, right? Mm-hmm. The physical act mirrors what's going on internally.
Sure.
And that expression was holding her back from really receiving and getting pregnant. And she got pregnant. I got an email 3 months later, a whole email saying, I can't believe I got pregnant. I said, you better name your child Christian now. But it's incredible because it's just we're not there in medicine.
Not at all.
We probably won't be there in many, many years.
Well, and don't you think it's like a disconnect though with traditional medicine and kind of all of the work that, I mean, obviously we know the power of emotions, and I feel like you have now even created a whole practice of helping people emotionally heal with all of your workshops and your online courses and even your certification, which I can't wait to talk about. But don't you think that in traditional medicine, there's still a long way to go?
Big time, because this is the way it's structured. We have this Newtonian billiard ball approach. We don't understand quantum, and we won't understand quantum. And I know that sounds like kind of like sci-fi Star Trek, but the truth is that we're both, right? Like the experience is like there's a cup with water here and it's on a table, and we can measure the weight of the cup, and if I let go, the velocity of the cup and the force of the cup if it hits. But we can't really measure what's going on in the deep nervous system fascia, the energy that's flowing. In Chinese medicine, they call it qi. We can't measure how that looks when it's blocked. We can't measure how much quantity of a repressed emotion we have, and we certainly can't measure the release of the emotion, what's happening in the body. Yeah. All we know is that the nervous system is hyperactivated. It can go in a sympathetic state of fight or flight because they don't feel safe, but then when they feel safe, they express more. There's probably a jump from left to right of sympathetic, parasympathetic. But the truth is that until we in medicine understand that there's a world of healing that is unseen, it's not going to happen. Because to measure and patent medicine, we need numbers and quantities and weights, kilogram, everything.
Evidence-based.
Evidence-based.
All of the things.
And for right reason, right? Like that's very important. And there's 50% other world that we're not seeing. And that's important because for me, a healer has that understanding. A healer goes, okay, let's look at this person in front of me. How are they manifesting and expressing deep repressed emotion? What's going on with their blood sugar? What's going on with their gut? Are they working out? Being able to take, that's true holistic. That's true holistic. When you look at the emotions and you look at the physical body, and then you look at the overall spiritual connection. Do they feel connected to purpose, something higher than them? When you have all those in alignment, my God, that body, an embodied person or somebody whose nervous system is just relaxed and all they're looking for is connection versus survival, that person is quote unquote healthy. That's the pinnacle of health. Yeah.
And so as you were kind of seeing and doing your own little research study around connecting, the guts of your patients and figuring out that, okay, anger is one of those repressed emotions. When did you start taking that initiative and creating, because now you have your own method, the emotional liberation method. I would love for you to talk about that, but when was there like a crossroads or an intersection where you're like, all right, I need to give this to my patients?
Yeah, it was when I saw enough people that I saw, okay, this is pretty much reproducible. Like you can expect if someone's showing up with anger, at some point they're going to say something about their belly. At some point they're going to really yell with a red face, and you can guide that, and every emotion. It's not, there's no like playbook where you go, always guilt is in the lower back. You can't say that. Often guilt is in the lower back. Often or anger is in the belly. Often fear is here. Sadness is in the chest and in the lungs. But Chinese medicine got that right. I feel like when it comes to medicine, they were on it more than anyone.
Yeah.
They weren't messing around when they talked about fascia, meridians, energy flowing through, blockages, anger in the liver.
This is ancient wisdom.
This is ancient wisdom, right? Yeah. They were onto it. And when you kind of lean into those traditional cultures and what they're saying, instead of pushing it away because you can't measure that stuff, Ayurveda, let's pay attention to that stuff. So for me, it was like, okay, I know what I know in like the physical medicine world and naturopathic and holistic and supplements. And then there's this world that I stepped into over time. And then I saw so many people. And I go, whoa, here's the patterns. Here's what I know. And here's what I found works best. Really, the most important thing in connecting to emotions is, one, the capacity to fall into your body away from your head. And I love meditating because meditating is fantastic. And we have to also stress meditating into the body and not out of the body.
Right. It's just up here.
All up there. And we've taken, it's like, leave your body and, float around in this ethereal. And that's beautiful because you get downloads and, realizations. And, you might even talk to ancestors if you're clairvoyant enough, right? And we have to have that somatic experience of falling into the body and noticing where we're holding tension and tuning into that tension and visiting. The body takes a while to trust you.
What is somatics? All right, loves. I see you. 98% of you watching right now are not subscribed, and that's totally cool, and I so appreciate it. But if you're enjoying this episode, if this is dropping valuable content for you, then why not join our fam? By subscribing, you'll never miss a beat, especially on the amazing tips, advice, and insights that we have on our incredible guests from around the world. Plus, you'll get a chance to win some incredible prizes. And it's absolutely free. It keeps us connected to everything that we're doing and helps us get even more and more incredible guests. And it would mean the world to me if you could just hit the subscribe button. And I promise to make you even more valuable content.
Somatics is just the practice of body-centric medicine. The body has a story. The body holds emotion, the body can release emotion, and it's that understanding. It's like, whoa, soma, body, has the capacity to heal you. So dropping into the body is essential. Anyone viewing and listening, dropping into the body is essential. You have to have a relationship with your body. You know what's crazy? There's so many women who have only a relationship with their womb when they have their period and a baby.
Right.
And what I've seen across the board definitively is that wombs are screaming at women saying, you need to have a relationship with me because there's so much of your power and your feminine expression that is here. Across the board. Womb always comes up for women on some level. Maybe a 1, maybe a 10. Right. But regardless, we need to have that capacity to drop into the body if we want health.
Well, and it's so, to your point, I feel like even myself, I didn't really pay attention to my womb until I was like, okay, I want to start having a family. I want to start having kids. And then that's kind of when I started to pay attention. But it was so much later in my life because, you're taught as a young girl, all right, periods are bad, periods are dirty. Right. It's the full disconnection. And of course, in the full patriarchy of things, we're just kind of leaving that conversation to the side. And I love that now you're bringing it back into the fold.
Yeah, and me as a man talking about it, right? But I can only talk about what I see, and what I see is consistently is that there's a massive disconnect in the womb. And then there's period pains, infertility, fibroids, all of these things that the womb is yelling at the person, and we're still not paying attention. I would say that, generally speaking, and for men, we have the heart is so essential for men to be really connected. And that is one of the things that is yelling out for most men that come to, when I used to see one-on-ones all the time, it was like, God, men's disconnect to the heart is incredible. And when we are not disconnected to the heart as men, or when we're not connected to our heart as men, we're disconnected from our partner. We cannot experience true intimacy because we can't even drop into our heart. Own self-intimacy we're disconnected from. And my God, if you have a daughter as a man, there will be a level of resentment if you cannot hold your daughter in her full emotional expression, because she's going to look for you to be the grounded figure in the family who can hold. And if you can't hold your own shit and your daughter is coming to you and you can't hold it or you can't hold her, there will be a level of resentment throughout her life. She's not going to hate you. She's going to love you. But she's going to always want to have had that connection with dad to allow her to say, Dad, here's what I'm feeling. What's going on, honey? Come here, sit down. Let me feel. No, cry. I'll hold you. I'll be with you. How many dads you're shut down? It's awkward. They can't do that. They push it away. They want mom to deal with that. No. It's the masculine initiative. We have to hold that space for women. And we cannot do that unless we connect with our heart.
Wow. It's so interesting that you're bringing this up because there was, my daughter now is 3 and now she's got her own, she's like 3-nager. So she's got her own little sass but she's in this kind of era where she only wants daddy. She only wants dada to do everything for her. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm seeing this like kind of in the flesh every single day. And the moment of, if Ajit's like so busy and now, I'm like, no, love, like you've got to be there to hold her. Because most of the time she knows mama's going to be there. Like she knows I'm going to drop everything. And now he's had to reframe whatever he has kind of been taught as a dad or as a guy to be like, okay, love. Okay. And she's been his biggest teacher as soon as she turned 3. And it's been so wild to witness because you can see him also softening in his heart. So to your point, this is happening real time.
Yeah.
And so tell us about emotional liberation method.
So it took years to really see what works, what doesn't work. It took years to test and whoa, okay, this is a powerful way to do this. Oh wait, no, this is even a more powerful way. So then I started culminating these methods into really like an integrative method that is based on multiple things. It's based on connecting to the body, based on visualization. There's some breathing, there's some fascial stuff with the hands and learning about the body and where to push and where maybe tap. It's basically understanding the body tells a story. As a practitioner, understanding the body tells a story and how to move with the body such that you're creating consistently the space of safety and openness so the nervous system can regulate. If you keep the person in their body, the body will do magic. So it's more like a facilitation versus like you're the healer, because the body's the healer.
Right.
You're just creating that space. And we're doing trainings with it. The October 5th is the next one.
Oh my goodness.
We did our first cohort. We have 20 people who are now certified in this. And they brought it right to their practice, and we have a WhatsApp group, and it's crazy. It's like...
Now, is this for medical professionals or is this for everybody?
It's for everyone. I want it available because if there's a mom and she's an at-home mom and she knows she wants to break generational trauma, right? Or she wants to be able to connect to her husband deeper, or the husband deeper with her, she's going to come back with these tools. This is essential for it's human beings. It's like it should be 101. It should be right after eating, sleeping, pooping, and then learning how to regulate emotions and move through emotions, right? We forgot that one. We've done all the other ones, and we've put other things prioritized. But yeah, I'm really proud of it, and you know, the practitioners are doing fantastic. They're doing like transformational stuff. They're like, this person, my client who used to come in all the time, is now healed from X, Y, and Z. Of course it is. Because the nervous system was just asking the whole time to just be regulated so it can actually handle stress and finally not be in survival mode.
Yeah. Well, and I want you to kind of go into a little bit about what if somebody's listening to this and is like, all right, unprocessed trauma, are you telling me to go back to therapy? What is the difference between therapy and this work, the ELM method, and what you're now wanting to bring out, knowing that you have this vast, incredible background of being able to be on the traditional, conventional medicine side and now the holistic side?
I like that question a lot because our idea of, oh, I'm stressed, I have mental health issues, I'm going to go to therapy. That's the go-to, right? And it helps a lot of people. But the way I say it is therapy will illuminate that there's a tree there, but it doesn't have the tools to get to the roots, unless the therapy is somatic-based therapy that teaches you, right? You can talk, but teaches you how to get into the body. One thing that I say that people are often like, whoa, is like, your body doesn't care about your stories. Only your logical, egoic mind cares about, I need to find out the moment that my dad did this so then I can understand who I am. The body doesn't care. The body only cares, do you feel safe enough in your environment and with your own self that you can express what's there? Are you living in fear, or are you allowing yourself to authentically express without fear what's there? That's important because that changes the game, because that gets to the roots. So again, therapy, fantastic, but there's so many people who've came to me and go like, this was like 20 years of therapy. Why? It's because you're not looping. You're not in like the same thing. I'm not saying, Neeta, here are the 10 things you need to do when you get home and it's gonna be better for you, and then you do it for a year and then another thing happens. Why is the other thing happening? Because you're unprocessed with the emotions. If you're living with repressed anger, you're still going to be a people pleaser. If you're living in repressed anger, you're still going to explode on people sometimes. And you're going to go to therapy for those things. You're not going to go to therapy for the root. The root is, how can I allow my body to be safe enough in the environment and with myself to have that energy start moving so I can express it and finally empty that cup. I'll get mad sometimes, but it ain't going to be a weight on me like it was. That's a massive change when it comes to mental health, because mental health issues are outgrowths of that repression, right? Anxiety, oh my God, anxiety is the body's compensation to a repressed emotion. When we get anxious, we shouldn't be asking, how do I get this anxiety gone? It should be like, what emotion is not being expressed? What am I not safe enough to express in this moment? We'll find oftentimes when we're anxious, we're just holding in an emotion. And we're just so disconnected from that emotion that we're only focusing on the anxiety. The same goes with addiction. The same goes with the people-pleasing, anxious, avoidant attachment. All of those things we go to therapy for are the exact things that are outgrowths of that repressed emotion.
It's so profound because it's not like a pill is going to take away the anxiety. It's just going to mask the anxiety. It's going to mask the depression. It's going to mask the overwhelm. And then what do? We tend to put more things on our plate. We tend to get even more busy instead of actually sitting with the discomfort or the uncomfortability of whatever you've been suppressing for years and years and years.
Yeah, and that's what we look for. Give me something now. And the truth is someone in anxiety, if you feel safe enough, maybe the first time you can lean into like laying down with that anxiety and going like, where do I feel it? Having a somatic experience all of a sudden, where do I feel it? Can I allow that anxiety to like move to my belly? Can I bring it all over my body? Because until you have the full somatic experience of anxiety for every single ounce of your body, and then allowing that to process and move using your sound and your voice, that anxiety is going to stay there. And only anxiety is protection. Anxiety isn't an emotion. It is the downstream feeling of a repressed emotion. So when you allow that anxiety to be there, because it just wants to be seen, when you allow that anxiety to be there and not resist it, it always happens the same way. The anxiety will come, it'll be intense, it'll move, and then the emotion will come.
Right.
And when we allow that emotion to come, you're gonna be like, holy shit, I've never felt anger like this. Of course you haven't, because you've been holding it in since you were 7 years old, right? That is, you wanna get rid of anxiety, that's the way you get rid of anxiety. Aside from like the gut health stuff, eating processed foods, we're talking about the deeper stuff. And that's a massive, massive, massive root that no psychiatrist, psychologist, no therapist is talking about.
No one's ever talking about that. And I think I saw this on your Instagram too, which by the way, I love all of your dancing videos.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. We
gotta dance.
It's such a vibe. It's the way that we get connected to your body, right?
Exactly. And I'll say this, we lost dancing. We used to be around circles and dancing. That was a communal thing. And we knew that we needed to move the day's emotion with our dance. We needed to move at the end of the day, do, and then moving our body. That's all of the energy that's been repressed all day and for generations. We knew how to move our energy and connect to our body. And in the society, we don't take dance as a therapy. I promise you, it is one of the most potent therapies. It's not like an option. It's like, I don't care. Move your body, connect to your body. It doesn't matter how you look. Forget about how you look. Right. Move your body and connect to your body. I promise you that you are going to start feeling better emotionally.
Oh. And there is the thing about shaking those hips because trauma, as you know, is stored in those hips. And so there is something, ladies and gents, about twerking, about shaking that ass.
For real. You have to activate that energy that is repressed. If there's sexual repression, if there's shame, if there's guilt, sadness, or anger in the hips for men and women, a lot of the time, they'll lay down and I'll like take a survey of their body and I'll move and their hips are like frozen.
So tight.
It's like you move the hip and the rest of the body moves like one big piece. And until that energy is released, you're supposed to move like a snake, right? Like your hips are supposed to just free flow. The women who have repressed emotions in their womb, I always tell them to begin a practice where they meditate into their womb and then start moving their body, moving their hips, right? It's a slow, intentional, sensual movement, and then moving into the whole body, and then allowing your body to move. Because what you're doing is experiencing that energy expressed through the whole body, whatever's in there. And I kid you not, like this is so potent for women. They're like, oh my God, like by the third day I was doing it, I was crying, I couldn't stop moving, I couldn't stop crying. It's because you just finally gave the womb a chance to express through your full body.
Yeah. Okay, so how can we get a hold of your workshops? How can we learn more about this phenomenal modality?
Thank you. It's at www.elm.health. You have the trainings, the courses, and the online stuff, anything that we're doing.
Are you doing live events?
We're doing live events once a quarter here in LA. We did one in the summer. They're big. They're like 100 people, and they're big, emotional. Like, you got to be ready. If you want to be around 100 people,
people are crying, screaming, shaking, releasing, shaking.
But they're coming with fresh face. Partners are coming together. Go, I never seen my partner cry. I love him so. It is crazy, the transformations just from 5 hours. Like, we're talking about long-term transformations. And if you follow how to integrate it and do a practice and still connect to your body, that's permanent. That's permanent. Most people don't want to do that, so they go, oh, I feel great, and then they go back to it. No, you have to still connect to your body. So yeah, www.elm.health, and the Instagram is doctor.gonzalez.
Oh my gosh, okay. Everyone's going to need to check this out because I think you have been able, and I've been waiting for this from you, by the way, you've been able to integrate all of the pieces that we see on social and also your incredible podcast, which I'll link our episode in the show notes.
Yeah.
But now giving people a tangible way to actually express in community, because how amazing it is to be witnessed and maybe make a career out of it.
Exactly. Being witnesses, this is exactly what you said before we go. To be witnessed in a space where there's no judgment gives you a new somatic experience of who you are. Because you, at least for that very moment, tap into, I can be, do, say, or have this version of me that I know I've been repressing, not paying attention to, and it's finally up here, and I'm safe, and I'm accepted. we are experiencing disease because we're just so contracted because we cannot allow ourselves to be truly who we are. And we know it. Our soul knows it. Our ego might just be like, I don't know who I... No, your soul knows exactly what you're not being. Yeah. How you're dressing, singing, doing, being, whatever. And when we finally have that space to do that in front of people and we're accepted, it is the most therapeutic. That's 20 years of therapy right there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And as we come to our final round, it's a question that I ask everyone. What does it mean to be brave?
But to be brave is to drop into that part of you that is so unwitnessable and unlovable, but that part of you that is a part of you, and that moment where you finally go, yes, I can allow myself to be this version of me and see this part of me. True bravery is when you finally integrate and witness the part of you that you've been so scared to express, and noticing how therapeutic that is for your health and your life and your family.
Mm. And one word that describes this season of life.
Dance.
Let's do it.
That's it, man. It just came through. More dancing, more body moving.
Dr. G, I know it's always a pleasure to see you, and your time is so valuable and precious. Thank you so much for being on the Brave Table.
Thank you, Neeta, very much.
All right, loves, welcome back to the other side. Oh my gosh, what a powerful episode. I told you guys we're going to get some really, really juicy tidbits on how you can actually start incorporating some of these into your life. So now my question for you is, what emotions are you going to work with? And who do you think will best benefit from this information? I would love for you to tag them below, send this episode to them. Let them be just a little bit more brave in their actions this week. And maybe what is one emotion that perhaps maybe you get either fearful of, or maybe you get ashamed of? Maybe you feel guilty just because you're feeling or experiencing that emotion. Go into that, tune into that. Now, if you want to connect with Dr. G, you can at dr.gonzalez. He is on Instagram. Go ahead. I've linked his episode in the show notes where I was on his podcast at Heal Thyself. And you can connect with him and his new program to be certified in helping other people release their traumas at ELM Health. That is ELM.health. And I've linked that also in the show notes. If you've loved this episode and you want to go deeper into your emotional exploration, or maybe your own embodiment practice of how this can be a daily practice for you, I've linked 3 additional episodes in the show notes to get your emotional mastery on. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, and if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It helps grow the show more than you know. Please share this with a friend, a family member, a bestie, a colleague. Who else doesn't need to honor their emotions and really allow them to release and process? I will see you next time. Don't forget to be just a little bit more brave.